After working 10 years to buy my dream house, I invited my family to the housewarming. No one came. They chose my sister's new car instead. Then my dad called and said, "We need to talk now about what you did to your sister." I'm a senior marketing director at Chicago's third largest advertising firm, making $145,000 a year. I've built professional relationships with lawyers, financial advisors, and industry contacts across the Midwest. For a decade, I've meticulously saved every extra dollar, living below my means while my family dismissed my boring career choices. What they don't understand is that my marketing expertise taught me something invaluable: how to build compelling narratives and document everything for maximum impact. Standing in my $280,000 Craftsman bungalow that I bought with cash, surrounded by the evidence of a celebration my family had deliberately sabotaged, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a missed party. This was about a lifetime pattern of manipulation that I finally had the resources and expertise to expose. My phone buzzed again, Dad calling back. I declined and opened my laptop instead, pulling up the folder I'd titled Family Documentation. 3 years' worth of screenshots, emails, and recorded conversations I'd saved as a marketing professional who understood the value of data. Time to analyze this situation like the strategic campaign it had become. The accusation that I'd deliberately sabotaged Ashley's car purchase was textbook gaslighting, but they'd picked the wrong target this time. Unlike the powerless child I'd once been, I now possessed something they couldn't compete with: professional competence, financial independence, and a network of contacts who could help me prove the truth. My sister Ashley had always been the golden child, coasting on charm while I built substance. But charm doesn't pay for cars. Our parents did. The same parents who'd never contributed a penny to my house purchase, despite watching me work overtime for years. The irony wasn't lost on me that they'd chosen to celebrate Ashley spending their money instead of witnessing me spending my own. I scrolled through our family text thread, screenshot by screenshot. There it was, my original invitation sent 2 weeks ago, clearly stating 3 p.m. Then Ashley's responses, confirming attendance. Finally, the fabricated screenshot she'd somehow inserted into our conversation, showing a fake time change that never happened. But Ashley had made a crucial mistake. She didn't understand message metadata. As someone who'd handled digital marketing campaigns worth millions of dollars, I knew exactly how to prove these messages were doctored. At 29, I'd been promoted to senior director ahead of colleagues with decades more experience. At 31, I'd led the campaign that secured our firm's biggest client. At 32, I'd just purchased a house outright, while my 28-year-old sister still lived in a parent-subsidized apartment. Yet somehow, buying a car with Daddy's money was worthy of family celebration, while my actual achievement warranted betrayal. The strategic part of my mind, the part that had built successful campaigns for Fortune 500 companies, began analyzing this situation with clinical precision. Ashley had overplayed her hand by creating false evidence. My parents had revealed their true priorities by choosing her over me without even attempting to verify facts. And most importantly, they'd all underestimated exactly how much documentation and professional expertise I'd accumulated over the years. I opened my contacts list, scrolling past names that would terrify my family if they knew the caliber of professionals I could call. Corporate lawyers who specialized in fraud cases, investigation specialists I'd worked with on campaign due diligence, crisis management experts who understood exactly how to control narratives. My family saw me as the overlooked daughter, but my professional network saw me as a strategic powerhouse. My phone rang again. This time, it was my younger brother Dylan. Unlike Ashley, he'd actually witnessed years of family dynamics firsthand. As a graphic designer with his own documentation habits, he might prove to be an unexpected ally in what was about to become a very public reckoning. "Dylan," I answered, my voice steady despite the emotional turmoil. Shirley, I heard about the party. I'm so sorry I didn't come. Mom said you changed the time last minute, but that doesn't sound like you. You've been planning this for weeks. The relief in his voice told me he'd already seen through Ashley's manipulation. In my family system, Dylan had always been the forgotten middle child, which meant he'd observed everything without being the designated scapegoat or golden child. That objectivity was about to become very valuable. Dylan, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Have you noticed Ashley manipulating family situations before? Because I'm starting to see a pattern that goes back years. The long pause told me everything. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with guilt. Shirley, there's so much you don't know. I should have said something earlier, but I was afraid to rock the boat. Ashley has been sabotaging you for years, and I have proof. The conversation that followed changed everything. Dylan revealed incident after incident where Ashley had deliberately undermined me. The lost college scholarship notification she'd deleted from my email, the family reunion invitation that mysteriously never reached me, the graduation celebration that got moved to conflict with my work presentation. Each story came with its own digital evidence. Screenshots Dylan had saved, emails he'd forwarded to himself, even recorded conversations from recent family gatherings. Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked, though I already knew the answer. In dysfunctional family systems, truth-tellers become targets. Because I was a coward, he admitted. But watching them all choose her car over your housewarming, knowing you worked 10 years for this moment, I can't enable this anymore. I want to help you expose what's really been happening. This was the moment I realized I wasn't fighting this battle alone. Dylan had his own professional network as a designer, his own documentation, his own motivation to see justice done. Together, we represented something Ashley and my parents hadn't counted on: strategic thinking combined with concrete evidence. I spent the weekend crafting what I mentally called Operation Family Truth, a comprehensive presentation that would make Ashley's lies impossible to deny. As a marketing director, I knew the power of visual storytelling. Side-by-side screenshots showing message timestamp, inconsistencies, email headers proving deleted communications, phone records contradicting claimed conversations, financial documents revealing the true source of Ashley's accomplishments. But the coup de grace came from an unexpected source. Dylan had been recording family gatherings for the past year, creating what he called memory videos for potential future grandchildren. Those recordings captured Ashley bragging to cousins about manipulating family situations, complaining about my success, and even joking about keeping me away from family events. 23 minutes of audio that would demolish her victim narrative completely. On Monday morning, I made a series of strategic calls. First to my estate attorney, confirming that my will currently left everything to charity rather than family, a document I'd updated after years of being treated as an afterthought. Second, to my financial advisor, discussing the tax implications of potentially supporting family members who'd contributed nothing to my success. Third, to my crisis management consultant, exploring options for professionally documenting family fraud patterns. Each conversation served dual purposes: gathering professional advice while creating a paper trail that anyone investigating our family dynamics would eventually discover. If Ashley wanted to play manipulation games, she was about to learn what happened when you targeted someone with actual strategic resources. The call I'd been avoiding came Tuesday evening, Mom crying hysterically. Shirley, your father and I have been discussing the situation, and we think you owe your sister an apology. Ashley is devastated that you tried to ruin her special day. She's been looking forward to this car for months. I listened to the familiar script. My achievements minimized, Ashley's feelings prioritized, my character questioned. But instead of defending myself emotionally, I responded with strategic precision. Mom, I'm going to email you and Dad a detailed timeline of events, including all original documentation. I suggest you review it carefully before we continue this conversation. I'll also be copying Dylan, since he's expressed interest in family transparency. We don't need to see your emails, Shirley. We know what happened. Actually, you don't. You know Ashley's version of what happened, but I have professional documentation that tells a very different story. As someone who's built a career on strategic communications, I think you'll find the evidence quite compelling. That night, I sent a 40-slide presentation to my parents, Dylan and Ashley, simultaneously. Professional formatting, clear timeline, irrefutable evidence. The same level of documentation I'd used to prove campaign ROI to million-dollar clients, now applied to expose family manipulation patterns. The presentation included financial comparisons that I knew would sting. My 10-year savings plan versus Ashley's parent-funded lifestyle, my professional achievements versus her job-hopping history, my home ownership versus her subsidized apartment living. But most damaging were the communication records showing deliberate deception, screenshot manipulation, and years of coordinated efforts to undermine my relationships with extended family. Within 2 hours, Dylan called back. "Shirley, this is incredible. I had pieces of the puzzle, but seeing it all laid out like this. It's sociopathic behavior. Mom and Dad have to see the truth now." Ashley's response came as a text. "I can't believe you're being this petty over a misunderstanding." But my parents' silence was deafening. 48 hours without response told me they were processing evidence that demolished their preferred narrative. The golden child versus scapegoat dynamic only works when the scapegoat lacks resources to fight back. On Thursday, I received a call from my Uncle Robert, my father's brother and a retired federal investigator. Apparently, Dylan had shared my presentation with extended family, and Uncle Robert was disturbed by what he saw. "Shirley, in my 30 years of investigating fraud cases, I've seen these manipulation patterns before. Your sister shows signs of pathological behavior, and your parents have been enabling it. I want you to know that several family members are questioning things they previously accepted without verification." This conversation revealed something crucial. My documentation hadn't just exposed Ashley's lies to my immediate family. It had created doubt about years of family narratives among relatives who'd previously believed whatever story my parents spread. Ashley's reputation was crumbling beyond her control. The confrontation I'd been anticipating came Friday evening. My parents arrived unannounced, faces grim with the reality they could no longer deny. Ashley wasn't with them, a strategic absence that immediately told me she knew the game was over. "We need to talk," Dad said, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. "Yes, we do. Please, sit down." I gestured to my living room, my beautiful living room in the house I'd earned through a decade of work they'd never properly acknowledged. What followed was the most honest conversation we'd ever had as a family. Mom cried while admitting she'd always found it easier to manage Ashley's dramatics than acknowledge my consistent achievements. Dad revealed years of frustration with Ashley's irresponsibility, but admitted they'd kept supporting her because she needed more help. "The point is," I said when they finished their explanations, "you both chose to believe a manipulative narrative rather than verify facts with me. You attended Ashley's car celebration instead of my housewarming without even attempting to solve what you thought was a scheduling conflict. That tells me exactly where your priorities lie." "What do you want from us, Shirley?" Mom asked. "I want you to understand that I don't need your approval or support anymore. I've built a successful career, purchased a home, and created a life entirely independent of your validation. But if you want to be part of my future, things have to change completely." I outlined my conditions: public acknowledgement of Ashley's manipulation, equal treatment going forward, and an end to the financial support that enabled her irresponsible behavior. Most importantly, I wanted them to understand that future family inclusion would depend on their actions, not their promises. The conversation that followed revealed just how thoroughly my presentation had demolished their previous assumptions. Dad admitted finding timeline inconsistencies he'd previously ignored. Mom acknowledged favoritism patterns she'd rationalized for years. Both expressed genuine shame at missing my housewarming for such a trivial reason. But the real victory came when Ashley finally arrived, summoned by increasingly frantic parental phone calls. Walking into my living room to find her lies exposed, her parents questioning their previous blind support, and her brother openly challenging her version of events, she finally dropped the victim act. "Fine," she said, tears streaming. "I did it. I've been doing it for years. Are you happy now, Shirley? You've turned everyone against me." "I didn't turn anyone against you, Ashley. I simply documented your behavior and let people draw their own conclusions. The fact that objective evidence makes you look bad isn't my fault." The admission that followed was comprehensive. Years of deleted emails, manipulated family communications, deliberately scheduled conflicts, and efforts to isolate me from extended family. All admitted in front of witnesses, all recorded on my phone, all documented for future reference. 6 months later, the family dynamics had permanently shifted. Ashley entered therapy after losing both parental financial support and extended family sympathy. My parents began visiting monthly, respectfully, acknowledging that their previous treatment was unacceptable. Dylan and I developed a genuine sibling relationship based on mutual respect and shared truth-telling. Most importantly, I learned that strategic documentation and professional competence are powerful tools against family manipulation. My house became a symbol not just of financial success, but of the independence that comes from building resources they can't control or take away. The housewarming party I hosted 6 months later included my parents and Dylan, alongside the friends and colleagues who'd always valued me appropriately. Ashley wasn't invited, a boundary that remains in place until she demonstrates genuine change rather than temporary remorse. Professional success, financial independence, and strategic thinking prove more powerful than decades of family manipulation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting angry, it's getting competent.